will have an opportunity to share post recording, but of course it's more fun and more interesting to attend the session live, because this is a great opportunity to ask the question, interact with the trainer directly. So this said, I would like to say hello, good afternoon, good evening to everyone, to all our We Empower G7 stakeholders and friends, to Women Empowerment Principles, stakeholders and friends, to all the friends of Women Will and Grow with Google, and to everyone that joined us today or expressed their intention for the interest by signing for the webinar and recording. Today topic is entrepreneurship for you. And we talked about this previously. We know that this is a topic that it's of interest, especially when we are thinking about the future career or a change of career, or in general about our plans for the future. So today we will explore what does this mean. We will find out more about the pitching, about the rules and what to say and what not, and about the investor's approach, and maybe also we'll find out some of the main important qualities when thinking about becoming an entrepreneur. So I I'm Diana. We probably by this session you all know me. I lead the efforts on learning and innovation and knowledge management. I work with the Empower program throughout this last semester. We try to bring you the sessions on confidence, on having a seat on the table. We talked about the uh, um, well-being and life work balance, and we talked about fundamentals of finance. But the learning doesn't stop here with our last session today. We will continue the interaction online and through various programs that we will be offering, and we will talk a little bit about this later on. Those who are our friends and who also are following our activities, you know that we had previously, beginning with May, online discussions about entrepreneurship. We also work in collaboration with European Gender Institute, and we also have a brief on entrepreneurship and advocacy for entrepreneurship, and we try to share these advocacy pillars while with different stakeholders. So if you are interested in all of this work, please let us know through the chat, and we will be happy to share the links or pinpoint you where to find you these links. This is today's agenda. After the small introduction, we'll hand it over to Shefali for the training. And I would like to mention that Shefali Bhatnagar is a YouTube for Action lead at Google Germany, working with advertisers to get great business results with YouTube. So I assume it's a lot of work with entrepreneurs as well. So we hope you'll share some secrets over there. She has worked with Google for 6 years now across many countries, specializing in performance marketing. So if you also are interested in marketing and advertising for entrepreneurship, I think this is a great an opportunity also to ask some question over there. We'll have an evaluation. We'll love to see if our learners get the messages, and we love to see if we did get the messages. So we'll do so later on, and we will have Anna Feld, the manager of We Empower G7 program, that will share some concluding remarks and some thoughts post-learning session. And with that, Shefali, over to you to share with us some tips and tricks on how to become a better entrepreneur.
Thank you, Diana. Hello, everybody. A good afternoon, good evening. I think that covers a lot of the times. It's afternoon and evening on most of the places. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I am feeling extremely fortunate to have a chance to connect with all of you today. My name is Shefali Bhatnagar. I am talking to you from Hamburg, Germany. This is where I live and work. And like Diana said, I've been working at Google for the past few years. The past 3.5 years, I've worked with Google Germany. Before that, I was with Google India. Before that, I was in another financial strategy position in India. And I'm really excited about the entrepreneurship topic. And some of you who might be wondering why I'm talking about entrepreneurship at all, I am not an entrepreneur. My story begins with entrepreneurship. I was born into a startup family in my family, it's me and my younger sister. And when we were both around 3 years old, my father decided to leave a very established corporate job and decided to start up because that was his passion. It was about designing machines. So he opened his own business of designing and manufacturing machines. At that time, and starting from that day onwards, for the next 25-ish years, it was my mother who carried the entire household expenses on her regular income as a teacher. So I studied engineering as well with the ambition to work with my father and to join the business. But by the time that I was ready to do that, the family's financial situation was in no shape to allow me to also join the business, and we needed something more stable. So I started pursuing the job in financial strategy. I got really interested in that side of the world. So I did a master's in business. I realized I have a natural inclination towards marketing. So that's how things, one thing led to the other, and here I am today. Like Diana said, very funnily, in my day to day work today, I work with entrepreneurs all the time. And although I'm not one, I have tremendous respect for them. And all of you who are here today, I hope our conversation today is of some value. To those of you who are already entrepreneurs, to those of you who plan to be entrepreneurs, or those of you just like me who plan to use these same skills that make an entrepreneur successful, but use them in other parts of their life, such as in my case, in my regular corporate working. I'm super excited. So let's get started with our slides. Diana, should I start presenting?
Yes, yes.
Wonderful. There we are. I'm starting to share my screen. So excuse my clumsiness because I have not been using Zoom a lot. So I might get stuck one or two times, but I'm ready. So there is something that is stopping me from putting my screen
It's
onto the
okay. It's okay.
handout.
How about I will share and then
Yes.
you'll just yeah, yeah. Okay.
Thank
Let's do
you.
that. No worries.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I think it's because this is a work device which uses another system for presenting. Thank you so much. We spoke about this. I also wanted to tell you in my introduction what I do in my free time. I only spoke about what I do for work and my connection with entrepreneurship. So these days, particularly this year, I've been enjoying cooking food a lot and also listening to podcasts at the same time. And in my other free time, I'm doing a lot of research on my personal investments. So some years ago, I got interested in like this personal mission to be financially independent, which means that I should not be very, very dependent on only my job to make sure that there is some money in the house. And so I started investing. And so in my free time these days, when I'm not like, usually I would be commuting to and fro office, I'm using that time to do some research regarding that. That's what I'm doing. And all right, so on the topic, today we're going to talk about three broad themes. The first being, let's talk about the entrepreneurial landscape. Let's talk more about how to understand and communicate our own value as women, and then how to close the deal. So we're ready to go straight into the entrepreneurial landscape. And first, we're ready to understand what is our intention for this program. So if we were sitting together in a room, I would ask some of you to speak up. But for today, I would ask each of you to either just think or to just write down if you have something to write down on. What has your experience been like to today as a female entrepreneur, if you are a female entrepreneur? What are your future goals and what do you want to gain from this program? Let's talk a bit about this situation we are in. What is the world that we are living in? Female entrepreneurship is hard. It remains underfunded. We're ready to look at the next slide, please. Did you know that between 2014 and 2019, the number of women owned businesses climbed up by 21%? That's a lot. Yeah. Companies founded solely by women garnered only 2.8% of the total capital invested in venture backed startups in the US. And that is really less, and that's very disappointing. Did you know that teams pitching for funding are heavily impacted by investor bias? So, pitching teams that have female representation have been found with 10% of their funding received by their all male counterparts. That is also not great information to hear. Why does this happen? I think the perceptions towards the credibility of a female in business, in entrepreneurship, these perceptions start very young. And there's a very nice video that will help us understand this on the next slide, please. Thank you. So since the audio is not playing, let me try to tell you what's happening here. There's a teacher in this class and they are asking the children to draw a fire person, right? And so all of these children started drawing male firemen. Then the next profession, now they're drawing a surgeon. And there again, all the children are drawing a male surgeon. The teacher did not specify the gender, but the children are drawing a male surgeon. And the age of these children is like 5-ish years old. And now the teacher is inviting all of these people into the room. And that's a female surgeon, a female firefighter, a female pilot, and a female construction worker. And the children, for the first time, are experiencing that all these genders which they associate only with men does not have to be only men. Gender stereotypes start to become strong at so early as the 5 to 7-year-old age. Wonderful, thank you. And now they started drawing a female firefighter, so huge progress. So progress has been made, but there's still a long way to go. So the graphs here show, the blue section of these graphs shows how much funding in the seed stage on the left, and then on the early startup funding on the right are by startups that have only men in them. And then the orange one is co-funded and the yellow is female only. And as you see that, although there have been up and downs, but the very, very vast majority of funding has gone to men only. So, taking an example, at the seed stage, which is the left part of the slide, women only teams have managed to raise only $82 for every $100 that a male founded team raises. And that's not very encouraging for us as women. Does this resonate very strongly with some of us in this call? I think it'll be hard for people to contribute, but yeah, if this is something that feels close home, uh, this is absolutely true. Did you also know that startups that are founded or that are co-founded by women, even though they get less in investments, but they generate more in revenue, despite being severely underfunded compared to their male counterparts? Female founders outperform male founders in terms of revenue. So if we were to put numbers to it, female founded startups outperformed their male counterparts in terms of revenue, bringing in 730,000 over a 5-year period versus 662,000 for the men. And when you compute those numbers, it means that women run companies are returning 78% per dollar compared to 31% for men. And if you talk to a lot of female entrepreneurs, you will hear this, that getting funding is possibly one of the biggest challenges that one faces as a female entrepreneur. Definitely, unconscious bias plays a significant role in this, and there are 4 key areas of gender bias. One is the likability bias, which means that success and likability are positively related for men, but they are negatively correlated for women, creating a lose lose on both sides. So, if a woman is very competent and she does not, so then she will automatically start appearing as not nice enough. If a woman is too nice, she automatically starts appearing as not competent enough. But that's not the case for men when niceness and competence go hand in hand. The other is the performance attribution bias. A performance attribution bias is super interesting. It means that we as women are raised to be humble and to downplay our contribution and to talk more about what we are doing as a group, what the team is achieving, etc. And so, women, we as women ourselves do not claim too much credit for what we are doing. And a lot of credit is not given to us for our own work, partly because of the way we communicate with our own work. There's a strong maternal bias. If someone is a mother, the investors start to believe that this person has other priorities beyond their business. While if somebody is a father, that goes very positively for them, thinking this is a family person, is very grounded, will not take crazy risks, etc. And finally, the performance evaluation bias. The performance evaluation bias means that male performance is always often overestimated as compared to that of a female. So, if the review criteria is not clear, evaluators are more likely to take a harsher and a more negative view of what a female person has done compared to what a male person would have accomplished. We are ready to look at the next slide, please. So, we spoke a bit about the entrepreneurial landscape. In review, in 3 points, we are making gradual progress in the representation of women in entrepreneurship. Unconscious bias continues to impact and the support that female entrepreneurs receive, especially the funding. And these challenges also represent a lost opportunity for so many companies. So that was one of the themes that we spoke about, the entrepreneurial landscape. And we are now ready to talk about our next section. And I feel very strongly about this section. This is about understanding and communicating our own value. And it becomes especially tricky when we, in our childhood, have been trained to stay humble, talk less about what you're doing, um, don't take too much credit. I'm sure a lot of women in this group have heard that. So, the first thing is about establishing strong foundations about understanding and communicating your value. And I would say the key to that is communicating with confidence. In business, we are constantly selling the value of we have to offer either to potential customers, to potential investors, or to partners. And in order to be able to do this effectively, you have to be able to communicate with utmost confidence. And confidence is something that's elusive, but if we prepare well and if we know what we are doing, we can make it happen. So, the first, go as best prepared as you possibly can. When you're very prepared, when you know what you're saying and you know that it has meaning and value, you will naturally start feeling more confident. The other, be very clear and specific. Answer in sentences of medium size or small size, and be specific in your answers. That helps in giving confidence to yourself, and also it communicates your confidence to others. The third, do not be afraid of taking time. Use your pauses. Slow down. When we slow down, it calms us down and changes our voice to a way that communicates confidence. It also helps us frame our answers better and to keep our points more specific. This also shows that we are not anxious. Finally, eliminate filler phases. And I speak on stage for my current job a lot, and this was very hard. Not saying all the ums and the ahs and the like ums. Uh, the way to do that is to think before you speak, to know your points already, and to speak at a comfortable pace. When you speak fast, you are making your points on the go and you feel like you need to put filler phases. Finally, be aware of your body languages. Are you crossing your arms? Are you making a very concerned face? So put your shoulders back, put your chin up, and speak with a smile on your face. Okay. I'm guessing a lot of people would have sat back and pulled their shoulders back when I did that as well. I can't see you all, but I'm imagining that you would have done that. Okay, now the next section on crafting your pitch. Now, as entrepreneurs or as just generally women in business, we usually are doing two kinds of pitches. The first pitch is to a customer. This is the kind of pitch that I do a lot in my day to day work. This is where I want them to use a service or a product that I am responsible for. The other one is when an entrepreneur is pitching for an investment. So there are some common things between these two kinds of pitches, but there are also some things that are very different. So some of the main differences is that in a sales pitch, we are highlighting to a client and we are talking about how this product or service matches their needs. This has to be rather a varied positioning. It has to be tailored to every client and their needs. For investments, this is a rather consistent positioning. You remember what your business stands for, what your mission is, and it is particularly tailored to an investment audience. For a sales pitch, you focus how you are meeting a need, while for the investment pitch, you focus how you are servicing some kind of a requirement for the market. So you are highlighting a market opportunity and then saying how you serve that market opportunity. On one side, which is the sales side, you talk a lot about the benefit of the product. On the other side, you talk less about the benefit of the product. You talk more about how you plan to win market share. Those are the main points. The other main point is that the main metrics that you should highlight in a sales pitch might be something like a saving or a more efficiency or more clients, better margins, etc. But on the other side, when you're pitching to investors, the goal is to convince them how you bring returns to your investors, what kind of a team you have, what kind of marketing strategy will you use, what kind of a growth strategy will you use. Thank you. We are ready to look at our next slide. with the do's and don'ts. Perfect. So some of the do's for both sides, right, are establish your authority and credibility upfront. So this is a personal story. When I work with a group of people who mostly men, they look much older, they look much more experienced, but this is just about the looking, right? Like I might not look my age, on I might only be the only woman in a big group of men. So if I sometimes feel like I'm not being taken seriously enough by a group of people that I'm meeting for the first time, I open my introduction saying how much experience I have with similar situations, how many years I've worked in the field, and I, if needed, also highlight that in the team of people they could be talking to, I'm the one who can help them the best. So that helps to establish your credibility and authority upfront. Focus on the opportunity and the potential. Use use this opportunity to inspire these people with your vision. Focus on the size of the opportunity. Be ready with the technical and commercial details. Tell a compelling, authentic story which shows your passion for the business. Do not dwell on legitimizing it yourself, legitimizing yourself, which means do not over explain why you are doing this pitch. Do not spend way too much time on details. You deserve to be there, so you don't have to explain that you deserve to be there. In the opening, you can explain your experience, etc., and leave it at that. Do not over or underestimate the market and the opportunity. Your investors or your customers will also come with their own understanding of the field, so do your research properly. Do not be too conservative in your project. Those were the do's and don'ts. We have this example from the founder of Canva, and she said that she faced 100 rejections from investors before she got to a yes for investment. And when that investment happened, she took her business to a unicorn status, which is a massive achievement. Every time we get a rejection, we should use that as an opportunity to learn and to understand how we can improve for the next time. It's all about the resilience. And we're ready for our next slide, please. Resilience can be an entrepreneur's most essential quality. It shows a clear linkage between entrepreneurs. There's a clear linkage that entrepreneurs who achieve sustained long-term success are not those who have not met failures, but these are people who have shown hardiness, resourcefulness, and optimism. And these are the three things that constitute resilience. When failure comes, we need to be strong to embrace it. We need to think, all right, what do we have to fix this? And we need to remain optimistic that this is a no, but we are moving closer to a yes. And that is an entrepreneur's greatest quality. We are ready to look at our next slide, please. As with everything that requires immense hard work, entrepreneurship also comes down to knowing your why. Why are you doing this? What is your motivation for this at all? What are you working towards? Do you want more flexibility for your personal and family life? Do you want financial independence? Is this an economic necessity? Are you trying to just see progress for your business? Make sure you have this written somewhere, so when the times get tough, you are able to reflect and sit back with that note, and that's going to push you forward. With that, on the next slide are the key points what we covered regarding understanding and communicating our value. It's important to communicate with confidence, particularly when you are either pitching for yourself or your business. The greatest quality an entrepreneur can have is resilience. And resilience is made out of three things: hardiness, resourcefulness, and optimism. The third, when you know your why, it will help keep you motivated and keep you on track. Wonderful. Now, my favorite section about getting yourself out there. One of the things about getting yourself out there is knowing how to close the deal. I think this is a very popular saying, and you would have heard this somewhere. This saying says, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. So, three ways for really getting out there. One, seeking finance. Number two, how to drive sales. And number three, negotiation and overcoming objections. So, let's get into the first one on seeking finance. The strange thing about dealing with investors is that if you ask for advice, they give you money. If you ask for money, you get advice. So you know what to do here. If you're seeking investment, make sure you have a very strong plan and you have very good questions. And then you're going to the right people for advice. So hopefully they also end up investing. If I were to give you a cheat sheet today, these are 5 tips and tricks to get the finance that you need for your business. The first, think about using different avenues for funding. Find sponsors, advisors, and mentors. Thinking about different avenues for funding means women often rely a lot on the contacts they already have, the contacts they can easily make. Unlike men who are able to easily cast a very wide circle and create a lot of informal opportunities for themselves, that is something that we as women can also learn. Try to find sponsors, advisors, or mentors. When we have a sponsor or advisor, as women, we are 80% more likely to be in business after 1 year than those of us who are not. The final, get comfortable with networking. And this is really hard for some of us because as women, we are raised to be genuine in our conversations, and we are mostly not very comfortable making small talk with the objective of, let's say, getting a funding out of that person. But networking is important. It allows you to pitch your concept in a less formal and a more organic fashion. So remember, ask for advice and not for money when you're networking. Demonstrate your worth. Do not be shy in communicating the value that you bring to the table. Finally, do not limit yourself. If you need investment, ask for more than you need. Women are known to ask for lesser than they need to be able to take lesser risk. And there's a lot of research that says that. So do not limit yourself. Now, talking about sales. How does this word make you feel? I think sales can make a lot of us feel very uncomfortable and not something that we would do naturally in our daily lives. But also, women can be super, super good at sales. And there is a simple cheat sheet that you can follow for that. You need to establish authority upfront, establish credibility upfront. So establish the kind of experience you have and why you are there in the room. Less is more. Do not confuse the people in front of you. Do not give them too many options. The third, create urgency by showing a cost of doing nothing. So this will prompt action. The fourth, understand the perspective of the people that you are talking to. Be prepared for objections. Fourth, do not be afraid of silence. Silence is when people are thinking. It's completely fine. Number 6, ask for commitment. Do not be shy to close. And that's one of my biggest learnings this year. That's something I try to do in my meetings more often. I try to not hesitate to ask for a commitment before the meeting gets over. Okay. The next section is about negotiating and overcoming objections. Objections can be a blessing in disguise because you can prepare really, really well for these objections. Once you go through a practice session or through a meeting, you let it become clear what are the parts of your pitch or your conversation that are really good, really strong, and what are some other parts that need some more work. So if you go into a meeting and you, after your pitch, you hear there is no budget, we don't have the money for this. This is some of the easiest ways to say a no, because it also leaves the implication that maybe next time when there is money, this offer would have worked. But push harder. See if before the meeting you can find out what kind of budget there is, and see if you can position your product, your service in a way that some other budget might be used for funding your project. The second is that if they say that there is no need or this is not something for us, this means that you haven't done a good job of communicating what you have, and you've not done good research for what they need. And you can totally do that. So reframe your answers or come back next time, matching more with what that business or those people really need. If it's not a priority or not an urgency, you've not done a good job in highlighting the need to act and the cost of doing nothing, like I said before. So it's a learning for your next pitch to highlight the cost of doing nothing. If there's no understanding or not a trust, establish your reason for being there again, establish the core principles that the business is running on, or the core principles that the business plans to run on. And normally these are the things that help to establish trust in a conversation. On the next slide, we're going to look at some negotiation fundamentals. The first fundamental in negotiation is the pie principle. In the pie principle, if the party in front of you wants to not offer the full price, you also match the offering to be lesser than full. So if the party is not going to pay full price, you tell them that's fine, but they're also going to get these, and these things lesser. The second thing is that negotiate the value exchange. So request something of value in return and be sure that you put a price on it. So remember to adjust the future pricing upwards. This one is slightly confusing, but it's very valuable. Know your own BATNA. This is the best alternative to a negotiated agreement, which means that if what you're trying to say in your pitch, if that does not happen, what is the next best alternative that you want should happen? So for example, let's say if I am talking with a company and we're discussing that this project should be completed in March 2021. And in preparation, I know that March is slightly comfortable. I think that the project should be completed by the first 20 days of February. And that becomes my best alternative to the negotiated agreement, which means that I'm saying March, but if March is not agreed to, then I know that I cannot agree to something less than the 20 days of February. So that becomes my best alternative to a negotiated agreement. And I know that is my limit, and I want them to stay within that range. These are 3 negotiation fundamentals. We're going to talk next about just a summary of what we covered in the closing the deal section. Objections can be a blessing in disguise. They provide the roadmap of challenges that you need to overcome for next time. What do you need to do to come with your best foot forward in your next meeting? If you come to a meeting prepared for all possible objections, and that comes with practice, that comes with experience, you are more likely to be able to overcome these objections in a good manner. Finally, negotiation is a value exchange, and it's important to always consider what you can receive in return for what someone is asking for you. Okay, so with that, I'm ready to ask you all 2 questions. The first question: what is an entrepreneur's greatest quality? And only 1 out of these 4 is correct. Persistence, creativity, resilience, relaxation. I see there are some messages. Okay, yeah. So I cannot vote, but I think a lot of you can vote. So please go ahead. A lot of them are true. I'm reading the comments. Absolutely. It's not like there's only one correct option, but there's one option that's a bit more correct than the others, and that is resilience. So wonderful. Our next question: what is not a way of getting yourself out there? Which means that out of these four, I want you to mention the one which is not the way of getting yourself out there. And the other three are correct, but I want you to identify the one which is not correct. Seeking finance, sales, negotiation, overcoming objections, and working long hours. If the poll does not open, please just free to write it in the chat. Absolutely. Absolutely. You all are getting it right. It's working long hours. Working long hours can be necessary, but it's not one of the ways to really get yourself out there. The ways you get yourself out there to get a business up and running, you need to seek finance, you need to be able to drive good sales, and you need to be able to negotiate and overcome objections. Wonderful. Let's look at this other question. What not to do in a pitch? Describe what you focus on doing. Describe your typical client and a major problem they face. Describe how your clients benefit from working with you. Describe how you select your clients and collaborators in detail. And I'm really looking forward to the result of this one. Exactly. It's important to describe the focus, describe a typical client, a major problem, and how the client benefits from working with you. With that, I am ready to stop talking and ask Diana, can we ask the group for their reactions, their thoughts? I see lots of messages coming in the chat.
Of course, I think please feel free to share any questions or any chat. At the same time, we are a little bit late with our program, so I'm sure we will have an opportunity to ask 2-3 questions if we do have. I know previously we had a question about the funding from Google on for entrepreneurship or various training. So maybe before we hand over to Anna, Shefali, you can share a little bit about availability of funding and resources for entrepreneurship on behalf of WomenWill or Google Grow, if you know, or if not, whatever resources that they can access.
So I know that there is a Google for Startups website that you can just type in Google search and it will lead you to the right website for your country. That usually has the most latest and correct information for what kind of funding you can apply to.
Mhm. So, dear participants, if anything else I missed, please share via the chat or question box. There were some questions about the investments and pitching, but I think throughout the session, this way responding. So thank you so much, Shefali. This was very useful and insightful. And I would kindly ask Anna to join us and to share her feedback and some thoughts based on our previous experience in working with entrepreneurs on some skills and capacity building, and also the resources available by applying Women Empowerment Principle framework. Anna, over to you.
Thank you so much, Diana. And I saw there was actually one more question. I don't know if you have an answer to that, Shefali, around finding mentors. If there's something there that you'd like to add before I close off the meeting.
This is a question this is a topic that's really close to my heart. When I was talking about my career progression, I'm an engineer, right? My undergraduation is not sales, is not marketing, is not the digital world. I came in as an engineer. I studied financial strategy. So how did I make my way into digital marketing? I'm so grateful to the people I found that I worked for who mentored me. And sometimes, if you're lucky, if somebody is mentoring you, teaching you, maybe you also are able to find someone who's a sponsor. And it's really important to understand the difference between a mentor and a sponsor. So a mentor is someone who is there to guide you on the topic of the subject, or like what you're working on. A sponsor is also someone who speaks for you in rooms where you are not there. So when a job opening opens up, a new project needs a leader, this person is there to speak for you, and that's a sponsor. And you can't ask someone to be your sponsor. uh, you can establish a good reputation for yourself, a good credibility in the organization, and then hopefully some senior people who also mentor you. So try to find senior people who are willing to mentor you, that these people can also become your sponsors. If you are an entrepreneur and you don't work in an organization, seek out potential investors who are willing to give you advice and mentor you. Seek out other entrepreneurs who've been in a similar or a closely related non-competing business, who are able to give you strong advice. Maybe somebody who operates on another side of the world that you don't compete with, who's able to offer advice. Search for your LinkedIn groups, search on Reddit, watch on YouTube. Where can you find people in similar or closely related industries who are not competing with you, that can give you great advice? I hope that helps a little bit.
Yeah, thank you, Shefali. And I think LinkedIn is a good starting point. I know that not everywhere in the world is as strong as it is used in North America, and also to some extent in Europe. I think there are parts of the world where it could actually be, people could position themselves much stronger. I've seen that when I've been traveling, that LinkedIn isn't as available, but I think it's a great tool. And we know that many investors are in the regions where LinkedIn is very, very strongly pertinent. And I know in the US, for example, to get a job or to get people are screening you before you go in, maybe to your pitch. They screen you before you go and for a job interview or whatever opportunity this is. They look at your LinkedIn account to see who you are, what your track record. So it's really important to have that digital footprint, I think, on the internet as well, and be clear of having a good track record in terms of the information and comment about yourself. But thank you so much, Shefali. This has been really great, and I see all the good feedback that is coming in from all the participants. So thanks for a great session. I was thinking in the beginning when you talked about a little bit the depressing figures of the funding coming to women entrepreneurs. And for those that have attended our sessions before, I have a word of recommendation. It's really around solidarity. It is if those that have an opportunity to support women entrepreneurs, that they do so, whether it is as consumers, whether it is as investors, whether it is as just lending a hand as a mentor, sponsor, or whatever it might be. I think the key word is really solidarity. And we have talked about this word this year in particular with COVID-19, that has really put a lot of strain on resources and really to keep that in mind. You also talked about confidence, and I'm very excited, and we'll see soon on, I think the next slide, we are about very, very short time to launch our Learn modules. And I think many of the things that you talked about today, Shefali, it will be picked up in our what we call boosters. We call them Boost Yourself series. And the first one is on confidence. We had a webinar a few weeks, months. I know it wasn't years ago, but a few weeks and months ago, we had a webinar specifically focusing on confidence. But there's also about assertiveness, and you talked about that also in the importance of really being assertive. And you talked about the BATNA, and to really be clear on what is the bottom line of what you can agree to and not agree to. And we have 8 of these boosters. You see the first one here with Rita telling her story about confidence, but we'll have about assertiveness. We'll have about finding a place in a team, understanding the different team roles. If you're an entrepreneur and business leader, to really understand that you need the different people to kind of complete the puzzle. And I think something really valuable that you said, Shefali, was I think there was about luck. You had a little equation with luck. You see people around you, oh, they're managing to get a deal, they're managing to get the funding, what about me? I think that equation should be in everyone's mind, in their portfolios, to keep in mind. It's about the preparation. It is also, of course, about the opportunity and the right timing of that opportunity, but preparation. And I think what you highlighted today was also to be ready for a time when you actually might need it. So the preparation is, I think, it's very helpful. Another one was around the objection, and not see critique as something to be depressed about, not say take a no for an answer, but really see it as an opportunity to learn. And we can learn from critique so much, and sometimes I think we kind of forget about that critique actually helping us on the road. So I really like the way that you had outlined it, and if you get no here, think about this. If you get no here, think about that. It's a very valuable lesson. And being resilient is really about not giving up and really kind of continuing. So you said that some creativity is important and other of the assets of an entrepreneur, but bottom line, not giving up, being resilient is really the key feature, I think, of a great and successful entrepreneur. So I see that we have started the polls. We already see a lot of great feedback in the chat box, but yes, we need a lot of information about becoming an entrepreneur. This is a series, and I think Shefali has really given us some great insights on resilience, and we'll continue. And also hope that once we have our learning platform up, that you will also join us there. So we have one more question, Diana. This is the one or two more?
This is the last question, and it's also our last webinar. So for this year, we are not going anywhere. We will continue our work, but as December is slowly came around us in all this challenging but yet interesting year for all of us. We also would like to hear from you. So particularly about the learning session, as Anna mentioned, please visit the upcoming platform. Please take a look at the boosters. Please also rewatch the learning session webinars that we created specifically for our stakeholders on the request. And please join us every time via online, or we will have an upcoming event on the 10th of December, where we will speak about the results, multiple results of our engagement this year, including learning, including skills development, including responsible business conduct. So follow us, look at our announcements, and we will be happy to continue the engagement. We would like to thank our collaborators at WomenWill. Shefali is representing all the team today, but we speak about a big team over there. We're excited to continue the collaboration in the new year. We would like to thank Shafali for today's presentation. So if you have any questions that you really feel they will be burning, please let us know, and maybe we'll be able to include the responses and the links in the post the webinar email. Thank you so much, Anna, for sharing the closing remarks, and always with a personal touch. We find always these remarks and advising very, very useful. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining. It's a bittersweet goodbye until next year. Please take care of you and stay safe.
Thanks for having me, everyone. Have a nice evening.
Thank you. And I saw some comments. We'll share the recording with everyone on that had registered. So thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.